By popular demand, Debbie Reynolds Consulting is now offering executive briefings on emerging data privacy risks and how companies can avoid them. To learn more, visit the executive briefings page on my website. Thank you. The personal views expressed by our podcast guests are their own and are not legal advice or official statements by their organizations. Hello, my name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. This is the Data Diva Talks Privacy podcast, where we discuss data privacy issues with industry leaders around the world with information that businesses need to know now. I have a very special guest from down south, Bob Carver. He is the CEO of Cybersecurity Boardroom. Welcome.
Wow. Hey, glad to be here, Debbie.
Well, this is so funny. So we've known each other forever. I
Yes.
saw your stuff forever. We even exchanged notes on LinkedIn about stuff. And then we ended up on a show together, literally did a webinar we were on together. And I was like, hey, so
Right.
cool. And I love that you have started doing video because I always loved your writing and, you send me your videos. I'm like, these are great. These are amazing. But I feel like I'm in the presence of like a cybersecurity superstar. So I'm happy
Well,
to have you here.
I'm in the presence of the privacy superstar and data privacy. So there we go. Mutual Admiration Society here.
That's so true. Very true. Well, I would love for you to tell people about your background. I don't know who doesn't know you, but for anyone who does not know who you are, tell them a little bit about your background and the things that you work on, the things that you do.
Sure, you bet. Well, I can start way back. I was a career changer. I used to manage commercial real estate properties, and I did that for many years. And at today's value probably was about $8 billion worth of properties in central United States. It wasn't East Coast or West Coast, were a little bit higher dollar values, but quite a few dollars worth of commercial real estate properties. But I got tired of the boom and bust of the real estate industry, and I decided to go back to grad school and get some master's degree in information systems. Started my career working for a large financial institution that manages multi-trillion dollars worth of assets and managing IT projects, servers, hardening servers, monitoring the networks and all the items on the network, all the network items. And what happened is, this is in the late 90s. There wasn't that many security people in commercial networks back in the 90s. It was mainly in military networks that there were security folks. So what happened is, there were starting to be security issues. And me being an IT guy, and one of the things I monitored all the data flows. We monitored what was going on in the servers. It was sort of a natural progression to start looking at some of the security events. And people would start saying, well, hey, we got this security project. Does anybody want to help out? And I would raise my hand and say, this sounds pretty cool. I'll help out and check it out and see what it is. And I started seeing back then in the late 90s, early 2000s, there were all sorts of worms going across the network. And since I had visibility into all those network packets and stuff that are going across the networks, I would help track down which computers were compromised to be able to take those situations out and be able to remove the computers from the network and clean them up and that sort of thing, to be able to squash those malicious, the malware that was running across the networks. Eventually, what happened after doing multiple different security projects, there was a position that came open at Verizon Wireless. And the reason it came open, one of the reasons it came open, the Paris Hilton's cellular account got compromised at T-Mobile. And it was in the news and everything. And then the C-suite at Verizon Wireless, in their ultimate wisdom, said, oh, we might need some full-time security guys to make sure that doesn't happen to us. And so they opened up a position for the employee number one, basically for the first full-time employee. Before, they had mainly just contractors doing some of this work. And I applied for that, and there was literally hundreds of people that applied for that position, and I was able to call myself as employee number one. And I owe that particular position to Paris Hilton. I don't exactly travel in her circles, so one of these days, if I ever run into her, I guess I'll thank her for being able to have that position. Anyway, there was a lot of experience that I had in that position to start that position from ground zero.
Oh my gosh. I find it very interesting that especially people who have gotten into these tech roles has mostly been people who have been like curious, eager to learn and say,
Sure.
"Hey, let me take a crack at this." Because I think especially since things are more digital now, I think as you were saying, a lot of companies weren't really thinking ahead about the potential risk. And
Mhm.
so and I think that this cycle is continuing over and over where like a
Yes.
new risk comes out and they're like, oh my gosh, what should we be
Sure.
doing? Who's gonna do
Yeah.
that? Let's call Bob. Yeah.
Exactly. What's interesting, since we've known each other a long time on LinkedIn, I have a LinkedIn story too. In the early days, when I started LinkedIn, I was also starting that new position with Verizon Wireless. And I had reached out to LinkedIn multiple times to let them know that they were showing up malware to their customers. It was specifically malware that was designed for Windows computers. But I had let them know, gosh, 3, 4, 5 times that they were serving up different pieces of malware, and then I even tried to help identify some of them for them. I also had a Windows box at that time that actually got compromised by one of them. I it was pretty good malware because there was only one antivirus at the time that would be able to even recognize that this was particular malware that was downloaded was bad. And then, but that particular antivirus would not be able to clean it up. So the computer I had at the time was totally compromised. But what happened as a result of all that, Reid Hoffman, that started at LinkedIn, he reached out to me and asked me to be on his advisory board. And it frustrated me because I would have loved to have done that. But I was up to my ears, actually almost over my head, because I was just one person at the beginning and then later a couple people trying to handle, a major corporation's internal security and also security for well over 100 million customers. So I did not have the bandwidth to deal with that at the time. But had a lot of interesting things, we at the beginning, they just had intrusion detection and firewalls. We didn't manage the firewalls, another team did that, but we started putting things into place one by one. But over time, I put in controls to help eliminate some of the botnet transactions that were going on in the internet and the people connected to our wireless network. I had one of the largest botnet monitoring networks in North America for any ISP for the longest time. Put in a lot of different mitigations for internal networks just to be able to help, reduce the risk as a whole. And of course, over time, we've been seeing the risks continue to get more sophisticated over time. And anyway, it's getting crazier and crazier by the day, it seems like.
You said something that triggered me that I
Sure.
want you to talk a little
Sure.
bit more about. And that was, I think in the early days, maybe olden times,
Yeah.
we used to think about security as walls, right? So
Oh,
locks and
yeah.
walls.
Sure.
And
Exactly.
so, but now we're beyond that.
Yeah.
And
Like
some
the
people are,
like castle walls and moats and stuff like that too.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So
exactly.
now we're in like the agentic AI age, right?
Oh,
Where like
yeah.
it's just changing completely the way people think about security. But what is your thoughts about this
Oh, wow.
AI push and the agentic AI and
Well,
stuff?
one of the things that strikes me off the top of my head, every once in a while, I'll post some things about AI security and agentic AI security, and I'll hear some people reach out, people with various understanding of what's going on in our current environment. And it drives me a little nuts when I say, "Oh, well, you just have to do just this, this, and this, and everything will be fine." And it's like, I said, "I don't know if you quite get the whole understanding of how sophisticated and complicated this is. This is like playing multi-dimensional chess or multiple dimensional video game." It's like you could literally have thousands of different possibilities of things of how things can go wrong. And so, and of course, a lot of this is privacy issues, which is part of your expertise. I know you talk about model inversion attacks, and I did a post on that recently, a little video and a talk about that. Basically, it's the threat actors can reassemble basically what type of information is being ingested by the model and maybe unintentionally memorize proprietary or personal or PII data. So what happens is what they're doing is they'll put in malicious prompts of sorts to trick the AI model to revealing any private or personal data. And so people will do this and they'll automate it and maybe even use AI or agentic AI to do it. And they'll keep on hitting it with different prompts until it drains all the information about, they know possibly a certain company or a certain person that is doing, say, special projects on an AI system. And they say, oh, well, we would like to, get all the intellectual property from this, or maybe all the PII for this particular company or project, and to be able to bleed that out. So that's just one of many things that could be happening with this, and we can talk about some more of those too.
I think what you said, the people don't really realize, so they
Yeah,
think well, first of all, I think people still think the things that they do in data systems are private and that no
right,
one will ever see it, and it's like, that's not how those
right.
things work, first of all.
Oh, sure,
And then they don't think that anyone will ever assemble the things that they've put together and do anything with it. Because
sure.
sometimes they think, "Well, no one cares about this." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
someone cares, and they're
right.
gonna try to get it." Right.
Sure. I'm just a little guy. I'm a nobody, and nobody cares about what I'm doing. and, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's not very true. Of course, this may not be the AI system, but there was a major breach just recently that, gosh, I don't know how many millions. I don't know if it's 25 million or 250 million. Anyway, a lot of healthcare systems got breached, and they went in there and stole all the PII data. And of course, as you probably know, as a security professional, the medical information, including all the PII data, is one of the most valuable types of data that cyber criminals can steal. But here's another one. They're stealing entire models right now. It was in the news recently that that Chinese threat actors were going into Anthropic, and I don't know how they were probably just showing themselves as coming from a friendly nation or something like that. But anyway, they were making all sorts of repeated API queries into the system and actually making so many queries that they could sort of reverse engineer it and learn Anthropic's model, their entire model. And there were some queries into this one Chinese model that it leaked out that, oh, sort of something like you're talking to Claude or something like that, and this is a Chinese model. And it's like, basically, it was stealing that part of Claude for part of the questioning that they were doing or the prompting that they were doing.
Oh my
So
goodness.
stealing the entire model, not just the data that was put in there, for model training, but
Yeah,
stealing the entire model. So it gets so crazy, some of the things that they can do.
that's true. Hopefully we can talk about OpenClaw a bit, or
Yeah.
just even if you don't talk about OpenClaw in particular, this idea that people will put agents on their computer and give them like admin access, like I could have fainted when I heard
Oh,
this.
yeah. Gosh. boy, there was somebody was talking about doing something similar to that with agents, and the guy was dealing with it, Claude, and what happened is they ended up deleting he said he wanted to organize his wife's photos for her, and he used the agentic AI to do that, and he ended up deleting all the photos of his wife. And, of course, his wife was totally livid because she didn't ask him to organize the photos. He was just wanting to do it to try to help her out, and luckily, he did have some sort of backup at the time, so he was able to restore those photos, but he decided that he would no longer try to organize his wife's photos, especially through agentic AI. So and then there's other instances where people had their entire hard drive, deleted from these agents. So, you know, that's the thing. What people don't realize when you're dealing with agentic AI there, a lot of times you're giving it's like green light for anything, and that could include deleting your entire hard drive, or it could be, possibly if you have access, say, if you have username and password to certain databases that might be somewhat proprietary. It might be able to, cause terrible, things, whether it's deletion or changes to those databases that would normally a normal person would not allow, or administrator definitely would not allow. So the number of things that can go wrong easily can go into the thousands or tens of thousands. And that's why when I hear people saying, "Oh, you only have to do 1, 2, and 3, and all will be fine if you're running agentic AI," and it's like, what about the other thousands of things
Right.
you're doing 1, 2, and 3? What about the 10,000 plus things that could go wrong? What are you doing to make sure that there are guardrails in place, or firewalls or sandboxes, or whatever protections you have, that you can think of to properly have in place, or things like zero trust. You know,
Mhm.
uh, it's. I mean, really, we're going to need all those things. You're going to need zero trust. You're going to need sandboxing. You're going to need limited permissions. That you're going to just do read only. You're going to have read write. You're going to have or execute. I mean, whatever.
I
All
mean,
these different.
I think, like, what happened to the sandbox? Like, this was we used to always do that. Like, we would never unleash something out into the
No,
wild without it being, like, in a sandbox. So
exactly,
what are we doing? What are we doing?
exactly. And anyway, there are people that are trying to address this issue. I'm thinking that the vast majority of them only are dealing with not even half of the issues that can go wrong. So if somebody's really planning on coming out with different products, I mean, they have right now there's people that they're just working on gateways just for LLM prompts only. But a lot of times if you're talking about AI or agentic AI, you're talking about entire systems that are reaching out to other systems. And you may be talking about, if it's a large company, you may have hundreds, if not 1,000 different supply chains. And you think about all the permissions that you would have for the different supply chains. It's just mind boggling. Anyway, it's going to be a much bigger issue than people realize at this time. I'm definitely running any claw bots on any of my systems right now. There's just way too many issues that you have to do with. I mean, you would definitely want to keep everything in some sort of sandbox, or very limited, where it's like
Yeah.
a lab type environment where it's secured against reaching out to the rest of the world, because
Right.
it certainly can go wrong. And
Yeah.
I know if I did something like that and deleted all my wife's photos, she would not be happy with me. I would it would take probably years to
Right.
make amends for that. Uh,
Yeah.
so, anyway.
I think there was a story about someone, they had installed one of these agents on their
Mhm.
computer, and they had it,
Right.
like, in their email, and it was literally deleting their email box.
Sure.
Right. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, I think people don't understand, it's like when you're dealing with an agent, it's thinking about the thousands of different possibilities of what it can do, and
Yeah,
so you're trying to give it an affirmative thing, "Do this," but
yeah,
it's not a brain of a person, okay? It's not
right,
wise, it has no context or anything,
exactly.
so it's thinking about these other
But
things that it can do to
in
in
yeah,
their lack of wisdom to do what you ask them to do. Like, I told
right,
someone, this is so funny, like, okay, you have an AI agent and it's, like, running your life or whatever. Let's say you said you wanted to take a vacation to
sure,
Greece, and it will say, "Well," and this vacation, let's say, costs $10,000, and they say,
right.
"Well, let me I sold your car for $10,000 so you can go to Greece." And you're like, "What?"
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And the other thing, part of this too is you're dealing with, there's a lot of APIs in AI type systems and also actually a lot of SaaS systems and supply chains. And those APIs themselves, anybody that's in security that's dealt with those, a lot of those APIs have vulnerabilities themselves. And then you have on top of that, you have the various levels of permissions on those APIs, what those APIs can do. And so you're not only dealing with the security in the APIs themselves, but all the permissions that are involved with that. And then in similar situations, if it's dealing with databases, sometimes there may be SQL queries involved. And it's the same thing. You have read, write, execute type, almost like type permissions, depending on the situation. And a lot of things can literally go wrong. And of course, I've always been concerned for the longest time, threat actors would delete certain things. But what can even be much worse than deleting things is manipulating those databases or those data sets on the other end. Think about it, especially if you're talking about financial institutions or maybe say you have a large organization that has a large catalog of things that they sell. And if they just mess up everything, they mess up part numbers, or say it's a financial institution, all of a sudden you can take somebody's banking account, a certain account number that has maybe only a few $100s in their account, and all of a sudden now they have $1.5 million show up in their bank account, where the person that had $1.5 million all of a sudden went down to $200. I mean, if you could do that among the hundreds or thousands of people, that would wreak extreme havoc in a banking institution, those sort of things. So, or all of a sudden, like I said, if mixed up the model numbers of somebody that sells different, say, industrial parts or that sort of thing, all of a sudden, all your customers have these orders that are fulfilled and everything shows up, the wrong part shows up to all these thousands of customers. Imagine trying to get that all unraveled and seeing why, who, what, when, where, how that was messed up. So, yeah, it can be crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about privacy. Where does
Sure,
privacy come in into this world, this conversation?
sure. Of course, well, we were talking about not only the model extraction, but you're talking about model inversion attacks where people, if you're targeting somebody that actually uses the different AI system or LL systems out there to be able to find out what they've been putting in there and to see if there's anything personal. But also, and we've talked about this before, just a lot of consumer related devices. All the phones, the TV sets, the IoT systems. I know my TV, it seems like it's being a little bit too much, but it seems like every few months it wants me to updates the terms and conditions to be able to listen to programs, on the
Right.
TV. So I liked it. I sort of liked it when I had a dumb TV where I never had to do that. So, but anyway, TV, it's amazing. I actually block a lot of that type of things, parts of my network where I noticed I used to have a Roku box. And I'm not using that right now. I'm going to be changing eventually somewhere down the road here again. But the Roku box of all the different privacy things that it did, basically all the data flowing back to Roku, and mainly most of it was outbound, but some of it was inbound too. The largest number of blocks that I had of anything thing that I had on my network was that Roku box. So it's basically they're just snooping on everything you're doing, everything you're watching on that TV. But it's
Yeah.
the same thing true with all the major TVs. That's one of the reasons why TVs are relatively less expensive compared to where they were 5 or 10, 15 years ago, because they're selling all that information to data brokers. And, of course, all I can say part of that is, like, why are you that seems like we should be able to opt out of that for one. 2, where's my cut of all this money you
Right.
got that's going out to all these data brokers? I don't know. I think data brokers are sort of the scourge of the universe right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's way too many. There's literally, I think there's at least a couple thousand in the States of data
Yeah.
brokers, and there's of just the main ones, there's hundreds of them easily.
Right. I
So,
I
as you
think
know.
people I guess people think I'm tinfoil hat when I tell them stuff like
Yeah,
this. Like
yeah,
you're not watching TV, your TV is watching you. Okay.
yes,
So that's exactly what's
No,
happening.
you're
And people
right,
don't really think about it that way. So
and
that's very eye opening.
yeah, and almost everything you do, and of course, I mean, even things like, I mean, even LinkedIn and all the social media. Amazing, all the different stuff that's going. Buddy of mine, he has, and I don't know if he sees everything, but he has sort of an agent that goes out and looks and sees how much data is being sucked up by all these different things. One of the top ones, I just tried several different, half a dozen different things, but X, former Twitter, X was one of the top ones for just sucking up data, of trying to find out what's going. That's why more and more people need to use browsers like Brave or some of these plugins anyway to help cut down on some of the surveillance that's going on. Of course,
Yeah. At least for them to get some visibility into what's going on. Because some of them will say, we
right,
blocked 80, 50 beacons or something,
yeah,
or some 50 cookies. And you're like, why is it 50,
yeah,
cookies on this article that
yeah,
I'm reading about things
exactly.
under $25 on Amazon or something like that?
Exactly. And there's some of them. I mean, there's some articles where they say, well, if you want to continue reading this article, you better make sure you disable all your ad blockers. And a lot of times I just say, I don't think I want to read that article that much to disable everything.
Right.
There's too much going on here if you think you got to disable all of that. But yeah, Brave is just a good one, just for easy one for people. There's Movad is another browser that does some pretty good amount of blocking for that sort of thing. The only thing, some of these browsers, if they knock down too much, then you might not be able to work properly on certain websites because
Right.
it's like you're you're not giving them a little bit. Sometimes you have to like, okay, give and take a little bit. So okay, we'll knock down this, and this, and block this, but I guess we'll let you do this so I can use the site. But it's just
Yeah.
sort of the way it is sometimes, unfortunately.
Well, I had done this is not really about this particular VPN because I know other VPNs work like this.
Right.
But I was trying to use the Proton VPNs.
Yeah,
Weren't
that's a
really
pretty good.
good, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But a lot of people like me, I didn't think about the fact that my printer is wireless, so it
yeah,
was like blocking everything. So I couldn't
right.
figure out why certain things weren't
Yeah,
working. But it's like
yeah,
you don't put it in your head that oh my
right,
god, it's
right,
when they say everything, they kind of mean everything. So like you have to kind of figure out what it is that you want them to block and try
right,
to
right.
figure out
There
how that works with your setup.
there are some that, and I forgot that the terminology is sort of like dual homed, where you can still have access to the local network and the VPN. There are some VPNs that let you access your local network too, but yes, I had the same problem the other day. I was on a VPN and I couldn't get. And what's wrong with my printer? Am I going to have to reboot the printer? And
Right.
then I looked and I was I was still on the VPN from doing some other work. So
Right.
anyway, had the
Yeah.
same issue.
Um,
But VPNs, that's the other thing. I know there's misconception sometimes. VPNs can help with privacy a lot of times, especially the better ones. And Proton is probably one of the better ones. I would say I would avoid like probably 80% of the ones out there, to be honest with you. Yeah, I had one of the ones that does a lot of online advertising and stuff. Starts with the N. I won't go beyond that. But there was actually a lot of threat actors that were hacking the accounts and then using other people's accounts to try to hide behind other people's logins and then using that to do all sorts of bad stuff and try to hack into other businesses and accounts and that sort of thing. So anyway, I don't use that one anymore.
Thankfully. What is it that's kind of top of mind for you in the security space that you want people to know about or think about right now?
Oh boy, there's so many things. It's almost hard to weed out one single thing. One of the things, just make sure that your email's locked down pretty well. One of the things that happened recently, and I posted on this week, within the last week, there were some fake Gmails that were going out and saying, "Oh, uh, make sure you do this security check for your Gmail account." And what happened? It was a fake one, and they were using that as a phishing thing, and it looks like the real thing, but it's a phishing thing to be able to get your username, password, and to get a login to your account, your Gmail account. It wasn't the real thing as far as being able to do a security check on your Gmail account. So I think if you do get emails that are related security-wise in your email, regardless whether it's Gmail or the Microsoft or any of Yahoo's or whatever, all the other email systems that are out there right now, go to the source. Don't click on the link, even if you think it's probably okay without. I tell you, there's some of these are so sophisticated that I have to double, triple, quadruple check to make sure it's the real deal or not. Go to the source, whether it's in your email account or whether it's your banking account or your social media account. Don't click on the link that's in the email. Just go to the source. I think that would help a lot of people because a lot of these things come from email. That's the other thing. They will come in text sometimes too. If you've provided a phone number could be used to receiving texts, instead of using the link on the text, go to the source and then verify whatever the possible security issue is or the security updates or the security checks. So that's
Yeah.
my big thing for the week. All the other thing, of course, the other thing would be just dealing with AI in general. Don't put anything in there that you wouldn't be happy posting on a major social media or newspaper or news feed.
Yeah, that's very good advice. That's
Yeah,
very good advice. Well, that's almost like people say, "Well, my email has a password on it," and I like laugh. I'm like, "These
yeah,
people don't know
right,
anything." It's like these
right,
people can like grab anything. And I think
sure,
also because people are putting so much of their information in these tools, is making it easier for phishing. So it's making it
yes,
easier. So when you get that email that kind of looks like Google, they may say something that maybe you think that they didn't know because you put
yeah,
it somewhere else and they're like trying to really
right,
grab your attention. And
sure,
so,
exactly,
yeah. This is so funny. So one
sure,
thing that drove me bonkers, so people have been saying for years, remember when people used to say, check out if you can like a phishing email or something, sometimes like the grammar is bad or whatever. I'm like, these
right.
people, they use Grammarly just like you do.
Oh,
Like they
yeah,
use ChatGPT to check spell check.
yeah.
That hasn't been true for a long time. Like
Oh,
these
yeah,
things are like
yeah,
they're really, really good.
I've heard that too. It's crazy. Yeah, yeah, that's so much better. I mean, usually when I spot emails like this nowadays, there's probably at most one thing that's a little off. One
Uh-huh.
single little thing. Everything else is perfect.
Mm,
All the fonts, all the graphics, everything. They've stolen all that information off a legitimate website.
right.
It's the real deal. So, and
Exactly.
and put it this way, I've been in situations where you're working with a relatively new security analyst, and they'll just say, "Well, everything looks fine to me," and I said, "Well," and I'd go through. I said, "Have you checked this? Have you checked this? Have you checked this?" And I come up with about 5 or 6 more things that they haven't checked, and it's like, here it is. Here's an analyst that's supposedly in security, and there's things that they even miss at the beginning when they're new, that until they have many years of experience that they probably won't pick up. So
Yeah.
so for somebody, just the general public, to be able to pick up on those things, it's not easy.
Yeah. Totally true. Totally true. Well, Bob, if it were the world according to you and we did
Yes.
everything you said, what would be your wish for either cyber or privacy anywhere in the world, whether that be human behavior, technology, or regulation?
Oh, wow. I think if we could figure out that being able to just sort of abracadabra, figure out all zero trust with post-quantum encryption, I think that would be a big leap towards what we need to be able to secure these networks. That's a big if, and that's gonna take some time.
That's a good wish.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good wish. I guess my concern is like technology is going ahead rapidly, and we still have people using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passwords. It's like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh. Like, how
yeah,
do we get there? How do we get there?
yeah. One of the things, too, that bothers me a little bit is I know they're there's a big push on passphrases. And they can be good. I think for a lot of people, they can be good. The only thing I would ask whoever that's about ready to try to change to passphrases, what is your disaster recovery plan? What is your business continuity plan? How will if all of a sudden you get locked out of your account or something goes awry with those passphrases and they no longer work, who can you call 7 days a week, or who can you contact 7 days a week to be able to get that fixed? And right now, I don't have a good answer on that, so I don't do passphrases. Whenever possible, I use good quality passwords, long, sophisticated passwords, and then I try to use security keys if at all possible, hardware security keys with the FIPS type of keys.
Yeah. That's good advice. I never had the head for pass keys anyway. I'm like, stop, stop. It's too much. It's too much.
Right, right. To be honest, if Google's taking care of your passkeys, who you gonna contact with Google? I
Right.
mean, if you ever had a problem with anything Google before, and I'm sure it's the same with Microsoft probably too, it could take days, literally days to get a situation unraveled. And you're probably not gonna be able to call somebody on the phone unless you got a, like, really high level account that you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars a month. You know what I mean? For most people, they just wouldn't have that access.
That's true. Very true. Well, wow, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining
Oh,
the show. Love your work. People, please definitely follow Bob. You have so much great information that you put out. Your videos are incredible. I always love to see your tips and tricks that you have come up, and the new things that you put out there are incredible. So thank you for everything that you do.
thank you so much, and yeah, check me out on LinkedIn. I do have a YouTube channel, not nearly as big as yours, but I do. But mostly people find me on LinkedIn, and even if you just do a DuckDuckGo, which if you want to be privacy, or Google, Bob Carver, cybersecurity, I'll show up somewhere in the first few pages. So
It's true. I've done it. I've done it. He's there. Definitely check
yeah.
him out. Definitely check him out.
Anyways, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. We'll talk. We'll talk soon.
Talk
All
some
right.
more.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.